what's up, America? People are going to be losing their food stamps again, but not in Republican states this time, Democrat states only. So this seems a little fucked up, so let me explain. So starting next week, 21 Democrat-controlled states will lose federal SNAP funding for refusing to comply with the USDA's anti-fraud data requirements. So far in those 21 Democrat-controlled states, they found 186,000 dead people's social security numbers being used for food stamps. 500,000 people received benefits more than twice, and a great deal of food stamp fraud is being uncovered nationwide. Now, the federal government has asked all states to turn over the data so that they can root out fraud. 29 Republican states said yes. 21 Democrat states said, no, we're not turning our data over to root out fraud. So starting next week, the federal government will stop moving federal funds into the Democrat states until they comply with this order to give the federal government data to root out fraud. The states that will be losing food stamps if they fail to comply, and they're not complying, are California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, and Washington. Those are the states that will be losing food stamps for failing to comply to root out fraud. So during the government shutdown, I said that everybody should be getting food stamps because the Democrats were holding the entire country hostage. And of course, that was at the federal level, and that was done for optics from Democrats. In this case, however, Democrat states are withholding data so that fraud can continue unchecked. That's different than what Chuck Schumer did, and these states fully must comply. And if these states don't comply, Democrat state lawmakers are to blame. And so in essence, Democrat state lawmakers are the ones personally responsible for allowing your food stamps to be taken away from you, not Republicans. So during the government shutdown, food stamps were cut off, but as soon as the government shutdown ended, money started flowing back in. This is simply a self-inflicted wound by the Democrats on their own people. And this should be a marker to these states that Democrats hate you and will continue to use you as a pawn to attempt to obstruct the federal government from stopping fraud. More than likely because they don't want everybody to find out how many illegal aliens were getting benefits. That's my opinion on this. So those 21 Democrat states, you don't have much time to comply. I'd be getting on that if I were you. And if you don't, I hope the people of your states will protest against you and run you out on a fucking rail. Because this isn't the federal government doing this. This isn't something where Donald Trump can just allocate money and send it out. This is you fucking your people because you want to continue committing fraud, you pieces of shit.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Global Views with Josh. If you're new here, hit that like button, tap the subscribe, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss the latest deep dive into politics, policy, and the things that make America, well, America. Now, today's story, buckle up because we're talking about something so wide, so eyebrow raising, so you've got to be kidding me that even seasoned political watchers are rubbing their eyes like they just woke up from a bad dream. Now, the Trump administration is reportedly threatening to withhold SNAP benefits for Democratic-led states unless they hand over personal sensitive data of food assistance recipients. Yes, you heard that right. The program designed to help families put food on the table being dangled like a bargaining chip. And for what? Cooperation, compliance, or if you were being honest, a little political arm twisting dressed up as policy. So let's dive into it.
Clearly, they didn't learn from the first time. The government shutdown took away SNAP benefits. Now the Trump administration is threatening to take them away again.
The administration says it will cut off SNAP funding in most Democratic-led states next week unless they hand over data on aid recipients, including immigration status. Critics argue the request violates federal law and risks exposure of private information, but the Agriculture Secretary says it is needed to root out fraud.
I guess my question is, why is it only the Democrat states? Are you telling me all Republican states have already sent this information to the Trump administration and that the Democratic states are the only one that is non-compliant? So now we're going backwards and we're about to have people starving again without any food assistance. Veterans, disabled people, children. I can understand trying to eliminate fraud from people that really don't deserve the benefits. But there has to be a better way to handle this so that innocent people that need those fundings don't have them taken from them. But as always, let me know what you think about this situation. Is what they doing right or is it wrong?
If you get food stamps starting next week, you may not get them if your state do not comply. The Donald Trump administration is simply stating this, that they will withhold SNAP benefit programs to Democratic-led states if they do not give out the information to those that's on the program. This information is very important because it's going to rule out fraud in the food aid program. My opinion, the reason why they do not want to give out that information, because it's going to show, no doubt, that it's more immigrants and illegal immigrants that's on the food aid program than Americans. Critics are simply stating this as well, that when you demand names and immigration status, it's going to invade their privacy and also eligible families, stop them from applying. Again, the Donald Trump administration basically wants stricter reform on the SNAP benefits program and to rule out fraud and its inefficiencies. What do y'all think? My name is Tiffany. I lost 150 pounds in 2.5 years, and I also report different news topics such as today. Tap in.
Here's the latest update on SNAP benefits. I'm a lawyer in real life. I don't play one on television. The Trump administration is now threatening to suspend SNAP benefits for people who live in Democratic states. And that is because the Democratic states are refusing to turn over personal sensitive information to the Trump administration and to DOJ. This could affect up to 20 million people. And remember, the primary beneficiaries of SNAP benefits, 67% of the people, are elderly, children, and the disabled. 2023 study of the Department of Agriculture and the SNAP benefits program showed that the majority of people, the vast majority of people who receive these benefits are doing so legally. This latest threat to cut off SNAP benefits cruel or justified? What do you think? This is likely another issue that's going to make its way to the Supreme Court, but if you're in a blue state, are you comfortable with the government having your personal information? Do we know what the government is going to do with this information? DOJ is one of the agencies that is seeking this information. Does that give you pause? Does that give you concern? Let me know what you think in the comments.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a pretty big breaking news coming out right now of the Trump administration, in which today, during a cabinet member meeting with the press, Brooke Rollins, who is the Agriculture Secretary, said that the Trump administration will begin withholding SNAP benefits from Democrat-led states if they do not provide the data on who exactly is receiving it. Now, according to Brooke Rollins, during the press briefing, she said that only 29 states, all Republican states, handed over the data to the federal government on who is receiving SNAP benefits, and that led to over 800,000 people who are either on the program fraudulently, or I guess a technical glitch, or they shouldn't have been, or they were duplicate, etc., were removed. So over 800,000 people were removed from the SNAP benefits in these 29 states, and they're still working on removing more. Well, according to this administration, the only states that are refusing to hand over that information, the data on SNAP recipients, so they can go in there and clean it up, according to this administration, are Democrat states. So according to the Trump administration, beginning next week, they will cease all SNAP benefits of all blue states or just any state that refuses to hand over the data. Now, there's some speculation as to why Democrat states are withholding that information from the federal government. And some of the chatter online that I'm seeing is because perhaps in these states, illegal immigrants are receiving SNAP benefits and they shouldn't be, at least according to this administration. So only time will tell what happens, but it's looking like SNAP benefits will end once again for at least any state, or in this case, blue states that refuse to hand over the data. Of course, this has caused a lot of controversy. There's a lot of chatter online. There's a lot of people saying this is not right. Blue states pay federal taxes as well, with other people saying like, well, yeah, hand over the data so that we can clean up the mess and we're not overspending on these SNAP benefits. Let me know what you guys think about that. Let me know in the comments down below. Is this good? Is this bad? Why or why not? And as always, make sure you hit the follow button for more breaking news.
Y'all remember that after the food stamp situation, I was like, hey, if you get food stamp, this is not over. Do everything you can to add it into your budget. Start saving. When you get food stamp this time, buy extra. I know the holidays came through, but y'all need to figure something out because the fight is not over. They're going to try their very best to stop, giving out food stamp. Yeah, it looked like the fight has already started and we just in 1 month. But that being said, if you're in a Democratic state, look into it. You may not get your food stamp at all. So research it, figure out what's going on there. But even if you're not in a Democratic state, it looked like they're requiring for everyone to reapply. The crazy thing is you're not going to even realize it until you realize your food stamp didn't come on. Then when you call, they're going to tell you have to reapply. So I suggest you look into it now so that if you have to reapply, then you could just go ahead and do it and hopefully it don't skip a beat. But yeah, the fight is still going on for those that receive food stamp. I don't know the process. Y'all should know. If you get it, you should already know. But either way, y'all need to look into it because it looked like everybody needs to reapply again.
Trump has come out to say that affordability is a Democrat scam. And if you don't believe me, I'll insert the clip here.
Object. Anything comes down. But the word affordability is a Democrat scam.
I'd like us to remember that Trump ran on a platform of affordability. So it's very interesting for him to turn around and say that affordability is a scam that's been sold to you by the Democrats. He called affordability a con job by the Democrats. I mean, the platform, he really did say that he would be lowering prices on day one. He actually said he would be doing a lot of things on day one, but let's focus on inflation and pricing here. He also came out and said that affordability issues are just figments of people's imagination, which was a great quote. In actuality, there's an uptick of 3% year over year in consumer prices alone, and this is attributed to things like tariffs, among a slew of other administration policies. Now, I want to hear what you guys think, especially if you live in the States. I'd love to hear how affordability has changed in your state since Trump has become president. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, if you're looking for pocket-sized politics, you're in the right spot.
During the Trump cabinet meeting the other day, the one he fell asleep in, which is becoming more common every time, Trump's Secretary of Agriculture stated that they were going to start withholding SNAP funding from states that did not comply to their information request. So let's back it up a little bit. Back in February, the Department of Agriculture reached out to all the states asking for demographic information about SNAP recipients, which would include full name, age, social security number, immigration status. And 21 blue states have refused to turn this sensitive data over because of privacy concerns and the fact that we know that this information is not going to be used for the stated effect, but it's actually going to be used to aid in this horrible ICE kidnappings that are taking place throughout the country. They later walked it back, saying that they weren't going to affect the SNAP benefits, they were just going to withhold administration funds. But as we all know with this administration, if their lips are moving, they are lying. There is no reason that we need to trust that statement because their original statement is the cruelest, and cruelty is always the point in this administration. And I personally feel this comes from the senators, the Democratic senators, caving during the shutdown because of their fear of SNAP benefits being withheld. Even though Public opinion was on our side to stay the course. And the courts were ruling that the Trump administration could not withhold the SNAP benefits. But the way the Trump administration is looking at this, that this is another pressure point that they can place on the American people, hoping that the responsible Democrats, the Democrats that truly care about their constituents, will capitulate and give the administration what they want. They can't, and they won't, and they shouldn't, and I really hope they don't. But this is what appeasement gets you. We learned this during World War II with Neville Chamberlain in England, and we are learning it today with the Democrats and how they are handling Trump. We cannot give them an inch, because once you give them an inch, they're going to invade Poland.
So imagine being a governor or state official and getting a message that basically says, nice nutrition program you've got going there. Shame if something happened to it. Now, if this happened in a movie, we would call it a political blackmail. But here in the real life, or real world rather, it's sold to the public as data verification. Now, the administration's argument is that they need more personal information from states to prevent fraud. Sounds reasonable. Until you realize they're not asking for simple checks. They're asking for deeply personal data, the kind of information that, if mishandled, could compromise millions of low-income Americans. And let's be honest, if this were really about fraud prevention, why only threaten Democrats-led states? Fraud doesn't magically disappear the moment a Republican governor is sworn in. Last time I checked, SNAP cards don't scan party affiliation. What we're looking at here is a lot less like policy and a lot more like pressure tactic. Almost like saying play ball or your people don't get to eat. A little dramatic. Maybe, but tell that to the families who rely on SNAP every single day. Tell that to the child who depends on those benefits for the only stable meal they get in a week. Tell that to the elderly person choosing between groceries and medication. Whether you agree with Democrats leaders, Republican leaders, or neither, weaponizing hunger is a new level of political brinkmanship that should concern everyone. But the question is, why now? Why push for sensitive data? Why apply pressure specifically to states run by Democrats? Some analysts suggest it's about tightening federal control over states. Others say it's about scoring political points. And a few observers whisper quietly, but not quietly enough, that this is a pre-election strategy to paint certain states as uncooperative or soft on fraud. If it's the later, then congratulations, we've reached the starve your constituents to win a headline era of governance. A proud milestone, I'm sure, right? Now, let's also talk about the privacy. In a time when Americans are already worried about data breach, identity theft, and the government having too much access to personal information, this demand feels like pouring gasoline on barbecue grill that's already on fire. Now, imagine being told, give us every detail about your residence, or they don't get to it. Nothing builds trust in government quite like that, I suppose. And while we're being sarcastic here, let's get serious for a moment. SNAP is one of the most effective anti-poverty programs in America. It's not a luxury. It's not an optional perk. It's a lifeline. It keeps people fed during job loss, illness, financial crisis, or economic downturns. Pulling it away or threatening to is not just political maneuvering. It's real harm. So here's the bigger question. is this an attempt to starve Americans just to score political points? Because it sure looks like it. And if that's the case, then we need to ask ourselves, when did governance become a chess game where the pawns are actually people? The irony is that this move may backfire. Instead of pressuring states into compliance, it may galvanize political opposition, spark legal challenges, and mobilize voters who see this as a line crossed. Americans can disagree about policy, but most do agree that kids shouldn't go hungry because politicians want leverage. But here's where we wrap it up. If the Trump administration wants to make a case for better oversight, then make the case. Use facts, use data, use bipartisan dialogue. But threatening to withhold food assistance unless states hand over sensitive personal information, that's not negotiating. That's coercing. And the people caught in the middle deserves better. So, as always, I'll leave you with some questions to kick off conversation. Do you think this is genuine policy work or political punishment? What should states do in response? And most importantly, should any administration, Democrat or Republican, ever use essential programs as leverage? So drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's talk about it. Hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. And share this video so more people can join the conversation. Thanks for watching Global Views with Josh. I'll see you guys in the next video. Until then, credit belongs to original creators.